right, joining me now to get into some early best bets for week 11 of the college football season and to discuss the weekend that was is our guy Brad Powers. Brad, how you making out today?
I'm doing all right. Looking forward to another week of college football. It seems like there's multiple surprises each week.
Indeed. Okay, yeah, we got a couple of big surprises out of the weekend to get into, a couple big storylines there. But before we get into those, what are your biggest takeaways out of the weekend?
Well, let's start with another best bet loser that I had, and a lot of people were talking about it being a bad beat. It was Georgia favored by seven, seven and a
Ooh.
half, depending on what number you got in that game. And Georgia trailed, the majority of it. Probably didn't deserve to cover, but here we are. 2 minutes left. You got a quarterback running free. I mean, you and I could have crawled to the end zone, and he takes a knee. Right, smart football play to end the game, but if you bet Georgia like I did and some of the viewers, tough because you'd like to win that one whenever you give an opportunity. But Florida was the right side in the game, so certainly, yeah, I think the covers on Twitter account tweeted it as a bad bet of the entire season. I
Yes.
would argue it would have been a bad bet had Florida not covered that game. So I guess I'm a little contrarian, but sucks that we lost another best bet. Another takeaway, and I've said this multiple weeks now: Ohio State and Indiana are starting to separate themselves from the rest of the country. Both I would favor by more than a field goal over anybody else right now. And the crazy thing is, Joe, is the market bet against them both last week, despite the fact Ohio State remains 11-0-1 against the spread dating back to the Michigan game last year. And that line moved 3 points against them on game day last week, or at least the 24 hours leading up to the Penn State game. Indiana continues to cruise. They're 15-7 now the last 2 years, and they destroy Maryland despite the fact that line came against them last week. And then finally, bad weekend for the ACC. Their most attractive at-large team, Miami, we'll get into it here in a little bit, gets upset by SMU. The only unbeaten team left, Georgia Tech, gets upset. UVA and Louisville, two teams that aren't slam dunks to win the rest of their games. So this conference, you didn't have to get too creative to think, hey, maybe they can get as many as three teams in the playoffs. Now it looks like, the most likely number is one.
Okay, let's talk about those Miami Hurricanes. I think a lot of Hurricanes fans were thinking, this is the year. Well, let's pump the brakes here, guys. They've dropped two of their last three games, both times as a double digit favorite, now plus 330 just to make the playoff. What is your outlook for the Hurricanes for the rest of the season? Do you think they're dead?
Yeah, I'm pretty pessimistic. I mean, but with that being said, they're going to be favored in their last four games, but that doesn't mean anything with Mario Cristobal. In fact, you go back to last year, Miami's just 7-5 in their last 12 games. Four of the five losses came as a large favorite, losing outright, not covering, not failing to cover. I'm talking about losing the games. They're not a slam dunk to win at Virginia Tech, not a slam dunk to win at Pittsburgh. And in fact, Cristobal, if you just look at ACC competition throughout his career at Miami. He's 14-14. Average coach, average program. Yeah, it gets talked up a lot. They're a good bully in September, but as the season goes along, they tend to fade away, and I think they lose to one of these remaining four games.
Okay, let's talk Dion and Colorado. So, what a difference a season makes. Last time or last season, we were just being smacked in the face with Colorado and Dion coverage everywhere we looked on ESPN. We were talking about it on this show probably every week. Not so much this season, though. Their last two games, very ugly, being outscored 105 to 24. It wasn't long ago that people were talking about Deion Sanders, the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe he's got a future at Alabama. Let's settle down, pump the brakes. Do you think Deion even has much of a future at Colorado here?
No, I would put it as a favorite that he's not the head coach next year. Not that he's going to
Ooh.
be fired or anything, but obviously I think it'll be more of a he steps away. It certainly the on-field results looks like it's over the last couple of weeks, but let's keep in mind his kids are no longer there. Health is failing him, and that's probably maybe the most pressing issue for him. He's had multiple health issues at Colorado. And the market is telling you that there's no hope for this year because right now they are 6.5 point underdog to West Virginia. Maybe that doesn't sound like much to you. If this line was 2 weeks ago, Colorado would have been favored by 6.5 or 7. So we've seen a 2 touchdown swing in this line in just a couple of weeks. It looks like Colorado's going to finish the season maybe 3-9 or 4-8.
Okay, still a ways to go here in the regular season, but a lot of the teams that we expected to be in the mix come playoff time just aren't there. It's one of the stories of the season. So, with that said, that's opened the door for a lot of other teams to get in. Based on preseason expectations, who do you think is going to be the biggest surprise team to get into the playoff?
Yeah, maybe it doesn't sound like it now because they're clearly a top two team, but it's Indiana. They were
Yeah.
plus 650 to make the playoffs at the start of the season. Of the 9 teams that are right now have playoff odds of minus 300 or greater as far as making it, they were the biggest long shot. And, this is an Indiana program that obviously is getting some headlines and deservedly so, particularly their head coach, Signetti. Indiana was the biggest upgrade in my power ratings last year. You know who the biggest upgrade in my power ratings from the start of the season this year? Indiana again. We're talking about a program with a power rating difference of anywhere between 4 and 5 touchdowns. They've been upgraded since Signetti took over. So one of the worst power four programs to the number 2 team in the country right now. It's them. I will say this. If you're looking, I know you like long shots. A team that
Yes.
has a decent chance of making it right now, that was a big time long shot out of the group of 5. North Texas was 66 to
Ooh.
1 to make the playoffs. And if you look at their remaining schedule, it's very likely they finish 11-1.
The mean green, baby. Let's jump on the bandwagon, Brad. Okay, let's get into a couple of best bets. And we don't have to go far for this one. We're going to Wednesday night. Ball State, favored by 2.5 at home versus Kent State. You like Ball State to cover the number?
I do. It always starts with my power ratings. I made it 4, so I got a pretty big disparity here. So what am I seeing? Well, Ball State, statistically speaking, a little bit better team. Simple stats like yards per play margin. 2 teams have played a similar strength of schedules. What I like though is Kent State just named their interim coach the permanent coach moving forward. And I actually like to fade that, believe it or not, because you exhale, you're pounding up against it. Hey, I got to get this job. I got to get this job. Let's put an all out effort to get it. And then once you finally get the job, I don't know. I think there's almost like an exhale, a sense of relief, not only in the locker room, but obviously from the head coach himself. So we're going to fade that this week and lay the points here. Ball State minus 2.5.
Okay, let's go to Saturday. One of the big games. A couple of ranked teams getting after Texas A&M. Favored by 6 points over Missouri, and you like A&M to cover that number.
It's a one factor handicap, Joe. Missouri is starting a true freshman, third string quarterback, first career start. Markets downgraded Missouri 3 points. I don't think that's enough. So there's just a big disagreement here with the injury to Missouri's quarterback that happened in their very last game. I think somewhat the market forgot about it because it was 2 weeks ago and we got 100 some college basketball games. So I expect this number is going to close at least 7 here. Let's get out in front of the move here. We're laying 6 with Texas A&M fading the Missouri quarterback.
Hell yeah. Okay, there we have it. 2 best bets from Brad. Brad, of course, will be right back with us on Thursday. We're going to break down all the biggest games of the week and add a couple more best bets. Brad, thank you for joining today. Best of luck with your handicapping this week, and we'll catch you on Thursday.
Thanks for having me.